What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about it. And in this video, I want to share with everyone how a judge in the Kitchener-Waterloo Divisional Court not only went behind my back and deleted and altered a 10-page endorsement down to one, but the same judge provided misleading statements by not allowing me to introduce new evidence. If you guys haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It helps my channel grow and get my story out to the people who need to hear it. That's pretty much what this video is going to be about, is how this judge, because she provided misleading statements on her endorsement and she did not look at the previous judge's endorsement that allowed me to introduce new evidence, this was a huge reason why I lost the appeal. So I lost the divisional court appeal that stems from a landlord-tenant application that I lost. I was illegally evicted by a lawyer who instructed his client to evict me while I was at work and to go change the locks. You know, an ex-girlfriend who did a solid and let me move into her basement a day after her tenant moved out, who lived there for a year, who her mother e-transferred $1,400 every month and paid rent. But all these people collectively lied under oath and told judges that no one lived there, no rent was paid, which I should be doing a video of all these witnesses who were caught lying, and I can back it up with transcripts and court documents. But I was illegally evicted from a lawyer. The lawyer was never a witness, which he should have been. He interfered, and I think it's pretty much basic rules with the Law Society that a lawyer shouldn't do this. A lawyer shouldn't interfere with, instructing his client to evict somebody. Was just wrong. So, yeah, on March 28, 2022, my ex's lawyer, John David Ekping-Young, instructed her to evict me while I was at work and changed the locks. The police were called that day. They did a report, and my ex admitted that I was paying rent. I was living in the basement. She applied to the Landlord-Tenant Board for an eviction application. Yet, the Landlord-Tenant Board said I wasn't a tenant. You've got multiple judges that said I wasn't a tenant. And they pretty much all ran down this police report and said, made comments that it wasn't, didn't hold merit. And there was just so much shady stuff that happened in this whole divisional court appeal. My ex admitted to the police that I was a paying tenant. She applied to the Landlord-Tenant Board for an eviction application. I've provided all those details in the Landlord-Tenant video on my YouTube page, and I've provided all the divisional court details in another video, so I don't need to really go into full detail about the background of that. But the reason I'm making this video is to share the major judicial errors and misconducts that were done. And I believe if you look at everything that's happened to me in this Kitchener-Waterloo courthouse, it all comes down to that family court trial. The judge on that trial, who made extremely contradictory statements that can't be backed up by any evidence or facts. And because you got that judge who's got that endorsement, all these other judges, they won't go over his endorsement, especially when he has the ranking that he does, a local senior judge. So really, the problem in this whole divisional court appeal was Justice Katrina Braid. This judge, she ignored the previous judge's endorsement, Justice Standrick. And that Justice Standrick, on February 26th, said I was allowed to introduce the police reports. And she gave me a strict deadline. But then you got Justice Braid, who said I was not allowed to introduce new evidence, which was contradictory to what the previous judge allowed me to do. This judge also went behind my back and deleted a 10-page endorsement and altered it down to one. My understanding of forgery is that if anyone deletes or alters a government document, that is forgery. When I reached out to the Canadian Judicial Council, who, to be honest, was absolutely useless and biased, they said my complaint was abusive. When I brought it to their attention that a judge had deleted a document behind my back, that wasn't concerning to them. It's very suspicious that Justice Braid would not allow me, even though another judge previously told me I could introduce these police reports that confirms the living situation. Why would a judge interfere and not allow a crucial document like a police report that the applicant, my ex, wrote and admitted to the police I was a tenant, paying rent, living in the basement, had a separate entrance, applied to the Landlord-Tenant Board for an eviction application? I don't think it gets any more clear than that, than a tenant and a landlord situation. It was an ex-girlfriend who did a solid, who let me move in her basement a day after her tenant moved out, whose mother e-transferred $1,400 every month for 1 year, and all collectively, this applicant's witnesses were caught lying under oath. And I will be doing a video sharing how all these witnesses were caught lying and that these judges knew about it and they did absolutely nothing other than support a frivolous application. Justice Standrick said I could file the police reports no later than March 29th, 2024. If you look on case lines, you'll see I did that. Okay? Justice Standrick also gave strict instructions to John David Ekping-Young with deadlines to file his materials no later than March 1st, 2024. You know this lawyer never filed any materials. It never followed this judge's endorsement. This lawyer never followed Justice Gibson's endorsement on March 30th, 2024. And then you got the trial judge, Justice John Kochenko, putting in his endorsement that it wasn't prejudice. You know that a respondent in a divisional court has a strict 60 days to file their response. My application was filed July 2023. This lawyer submitted his materials on New Year's Eve at 8:01 on December 31st, 2024. What is that? How many months is that? 18 months? 16 months? And then this judge, Justice John Kochenko, is going to sit there and put on his endorsement. It wasn't prejudice to me that his materials were filed late. Okay? He never filed any materials. I'll show you guys on case lines. I filed a motion in October 2024. That's when we get before Justice Gibson, the judge who hammered me with a lifetime restraining order, ordered me to pay $60,000, ran my name down in his endorsement, said he didn't believe me, which I completely disagree with everything he put in that endorsement, and that's just the honest truth. And Justice Gibson said at that motion on November 30th, 2024, that John David Ekping-Young is to file his materials no later than December 31st, 2024. I'll share that endorsement with you guys. This lawyer, and I think he planned this because he likes to email me on holidays and weekends. This lawyer files it. He submits his materials to me. He serves me his materials on New Year's Eve at 8:01. His materials are late. Okay, the court clerks there in that civil court, they accepted his materials on January 6, 2024. These judges ignored these serving rules. These court staff ignored these rules. You know how many unsigned commission documents this court staff accepted from this lawyer? You know how many unsigned commission documents slid through all these judges and allowed it? Again, What's the point of having rules, laws, if parties, court staff, and judges aren't going to follow it? This was all about the abuse I endured from this Kitchener-Waterloo courthouse. I don't think can ever be matched with any other self-represent litigant. So there's a rule, deemed service email 16.0310, that any filings past 4 p.m. on a day is be considered filed the following day. So this lawyer's materials were late. They were late. They were late 18 months. And these judges are sitting there saying, oh, it wasn't prejudice. Of course it was prejudice. What, because they didn't have a lawyer? What, they think they can just get away with abusing me like this? That's all it is abuse that I took from this court. And, so I end up filing a motion I get before Justice Reed regarding these late filings. And the way this judge spoke to me, the way he handled the case, it's pretty obvious. There's notes about me that all these judges previously are writing about me. And how is the judge supposed to act impartial when he's got notes from a previous judge who are inaccurate and are running down my name? Because this is what they do. Court staff has admitted to me they leave notes, and judges leave notes. It's people know this. John David Ekping-Young and his client don't even show up to this motion. I get scolded at that motion. I don't get any costs awarded, and I'm forced to go to this appeal. I'm forced to go to appeal where the respondent hasn't filed their materials on time. They haven't abided by the rules. We get before Justice John Krachenko on March 10th, 2025. He dismisses my appeal on Justice Braid's endorsement, which is obviously riddled with judicial error and forgery. I mentioned this to the judge. He did absolutely nothing. This tainted my case. I still don't understand how a judge can get away with deleting and altering a document behind our backs, and you bring it up to various judges' attentions and they do nothing. It just continues to support this whole corruption element that I'm dealing with. Justice Braid deleted her endorsement, and that is altering a document with forgery, and that tainted my whole appeal. Justice Braid said I could not introduce new evidence on May 24th, 2024, when in fact Justice Standrick said I could on February 26th, 2024. So I want to get into this endorsement that Justice John Krachenko prepared. So I'm going to be reading the overview, which is 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to be reading 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which falls under the late filings, objection, and fresh evidence. So this is what Justice John Krachenko wrote. Overview. This is an appeal from the order of the Landlord-Tenant Board dated 19th June 2023, wherein the appellant's application for relief against the respondent was dismissed on the basis that Mr. Dobson was found not to be a tenant and the board did not have jurisdiction over the matter. The appellant argues that the board erred in law when it found the Residential Tenancies Act did not apply his occupation of the resident's home, that the conduct of Mr. Pachet, board member, was biased, rendering the proceedings and procedurally unfair. I see no error with the members' analysts' conclusions, nor do I find procedural unfairness, and dismiss the appeal for the reasons set out below. Late filings and fresh evidence. Late filing, objection, and fresh evidence. 4. The appellant raised a procedural objection at the start of the hearing regarding the late filing of the responding materials to the appeal. On the 20th November 2024, Justice Gibson ordered that the respondent file any materials for the hearing of the appeal no later than the 31st of December 2024. The respondent's appeal materials were comprised of affidavits, sworn December 3rd, 2024, and a factum dated December 31st, 2024, both of which were served on the appellant by 8 p.m. on the 31st of December, 2024, but were not filed with the court until the 6th of January, 2025. The appellant was not prejudiced by the late filing, having been served with the materials well in advance of the hearing. I exercised my discretion under Rule 3.02 to extend time for delivery of the respondent's appeal and materials to the filing date of the 6th of January 2025. In the spring of 2024, this is number 8, the appellant brought a motion seeking leave to introduce evidence at the appeal and had not been considered by the board by Mr. Dobson sought to introduce 3 videos and several police reports. That motion was dismissed by Justice Braid on May 24th, 2024. No fresh evidence was introduced. Notwithstanding Justice Braid's ruling, while arguing his appeal, Mr. Dobson specifically referenced and relied upon police reports that the court previously ruled not to be introduced. Just to be clear, nothing turned on this, nor the reference reports assistant the appellant. I'm sorry, but this is the bullshit I've been dealing with, okay? First of all, Justice Standrick said I could introduce the police reports, okay? And then you got Justice Braid sitting there deleting endorsements, altering endorsements, and sitting there and manipulating what I was already instructed allowed to do. And now this judge is going to sit here, Justice John Kurchenko, and is going to be sitting there and telling me that the police reports turned nothing on. If the respondent admitted to the police that I was a tenant paying rent, that they maliciously withheld this police report for over 2 years that were not available at the landlord-tenant hearing, why wouldn't these police reports be allowed? Because you know why? They're all collectively trying to silence me. They're all collectively trying to silence me. You've got judges that are doing this to people, okay? This is just how crazy all of this, these court proceedings are with this Kitchener-Waterloo courthouse. And nobody should be surprised that I'm upset in doing these videos, okay? You've got a judge who went behind my back, deleted and altered an endorsement, and took out crucial information and tainted my appeal. That is forgery. And then when you got the only body, the Canadian Judicial Council, who's sitting there and turning a blind eye to these judicial errors and misconduct and supporting it, we've got a big problem here, okay? The public does not, most of the public do not trust these courts. When you've got an example like this, something I've personally gone through, and there is evidence to back this stuff up, we have a serious issue. And this is why I think the next thing I need to do is to send a detailed letter to the Chief Justice of Canada and the Chief Justice of Ontario and let him know what all these judges have done. And let him know how broken this Canadian Judicial Council is. But you know what? The problem is they're all on the same team. So even if I do that, I have lost complete trust in our justice system. When you've got judges doing this judge here, Justice John Kurchenko, is going to sit there and put on an endorsement that's available to the world saying that there was nothing prejudiced with late filings. Justice Standrick gave strict deadlines to John David Ekping-Young to file his materials no later than March 1st, 2024. This lawyer files his materials in January of 2025. And you guys are going to sit there ignorantly and do this to people. Okay? This is corruption. This is corruption. And I haven't even scratched the surface yet. Okay? Everyone, I'm going to let you know, most of these media companies, they're too chicken shit to talk about these things because they're funded by the government. Okay? And they don't want to talk about this stuff in a civil, calm, factual manner because that's all I'm trying to do. Okay? So here you guys go. This is the video. Okay? The same judge who went behind my back and did something very shady also provided serious judicial error and judicial misconduct by sitting there and didn't even take a few minutes and read the previous judge's endorsement that said I could provide the police reports. And why would not one but two judges sit there and say, no, I can't introduce police reports when it clearly clarifies the living arrangements? You know, this is the crap I'm dealing with. And it's in the public's best interest that I share it and I get this off my chest. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to try to work on getting these videos a little bit shorter. But sometimes when you've taken a beating behind closed doors in courtrooms like I have for over 3 years, it's sometimes hard to minimize the abuse and the facts and the evidence like I have. So I'm going to leave the video right there. I want to thank everyone for watching this video. This video has been about a judge who has not only went behind my back and caught deleting and altering a document, but she has misled the court by saying I could not introduce new evidence when a judge before her said I could, and I did. So I hope there's going to be change one day. And I hope it doesn't have to come down to me reaching out to the Chief Justice of Canada and going to a very specific, detailed, chronological, summarized letter sharing what is happening, what these public servants are doing to people. You know, again, all I want to do is go back to work, contribute to society, help out the less fortunate, help out these abused animals. I want to help out women and children who are being abused. And you got these judges collectively working together, trying to allowing these frivolous documents that this lawyer's been submitting to get away with. And you know, enough is enough. So I'm going to leave the video right there. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me get my story out to the public. And again, I've got nothing to hide. I've got nothing to mislead. I've got nothing to gain to mislead or bash anyone. I'm just trying to get the truth out there that the main media refuses to talk about. So thank you guys for watching.